An Arab-Moslem Love Sex Guide. Chapter 1. A Muslim Love Guide. Muslim Love Info. A Muslim marriage is not between two individuals. It's between two families. Muslim guy on TV. And of his signs is that he created for you spouses from yourselves that you might dwell in tranquility with them, and ordained between you love and mercy. Quran 30:21. The union of souls is 1,000 times more beautiful than that of bodies. Ibn Hazm, The Ring of the Dove, 1022. The lover's soul is ever seeking for the other, striving after it, searching it out, yearning to encounter it again, drawing it to itself. It might be as a magnet draws the iron. Ibn Hazm, The Ring of the Dove, 1022. He who is able to get married should, it keeps the eye cast down and keeps a man chaste. He who is unable should take to fasting, which will cool his passion. Muhammad. Let no believing man hate his believing wife. If he is displeased with one trait of her character, let him be pleased with another that is within her. Muhammad. The city of Baghdad was built as a central meeting place for Europeans, Chinese and Indian traders on the site of the first known human civilization, Sumeria. Muhammad the Prophet started the Muslim religion, which means self-surrender, as a hybrid of Arab, Jewish, and Christian beliefs. Find books about Islam at number 297 at the library. Their sex book was The Perfumed Garden for the Soul's Recreation from the 16th century. Muhammad said, "Search for learning." So up until the Middle Ages, Muslims were the most intellectual people in the world. They mastered the art of demeaning women as subclass servants and the use of harems to satisfy their personal desires. Harem is derived from a Turkish word meaning women's quarters. Many of the harem girls were slaves purchased from captured territories. There was a hierarchy and protocol in the harem. The man had to have sex with the women in a certain order based on their rank in his personal harem. Even for rich Muslims, it was expensive to keep a harem. Muslims used aphrodisiacs. They used eunuchs, men with their balls cut off, to guard their harems. Muhammad himself preached for polygamy in order to increase the flock. According to the Quran, a woman may have only one husband, but a man can have up to 4 wives if he can afford them. Many wealthy Muslims keep concubines, mistresses, in addition to their wives. Ghazali, 1058-1111, the great religious mystic of Islam, identified 18 curses women received because of Eve's sin in the Garden of Eden. Menstruation, pregnancy, childbirth, marriage to a stranger by arrangement, subservient to men, lesser share in inheritance, the ability to be divorced by a man but not divorce a man, to have only one husband while a man could have 4 wives, must stay secluded in the house, keep her head covered in the house and out in public. 2 women's testimonies equal that of 1 man. Can't leave the house unless accompanied by a close relative. Men go to feasts and funerals, women don't. Women can't hold any worthy political or religious position. Merit has 1,000 attributes. Men have 999, women have 1. If women are lewd, they will only be given half the rewards on Resurrection Day. If the husband dies, they must wait almost 5 months before remarriage. If the husband divorces them, they must wait 3 months before remarriage. According to Islam, all the trials, misfortunes, and woes which happen to men come from women. In general, men are gods in the Muslim culture, women are the servants. Men are allowed to take on 4 wives because they say it's in service of God, even though there's nothing in the Quran about it. Women are brainwashed to be dependent flakes from day one, so they go along with the system, get married at a young age, and then when the marriage fails, they run away to the secular cities to become prostitutes or take on a menial job. They've been so brainwashed they don't know how to pursue their own destinies. Some women like the community feel of it, as I've seen with some Muslim women who like this interdependent lifestyle because at least they're not alone, so they sacrifice their individuality for a life within the religious community. I've seen normal American women who went Muslim. I personally think they did it because they were lonely, lost people who needed this strong, family communal type thing in order to feel like they belong somewhere. They were all united at a mosque and private Muslim school. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC.ca, film Crimes of Honor by Shelley Saywell does a good job of showing Muslim customs going on in the modern world, such as family members killing a sister for sleeping with a man outside of marriage and public executions of women who commit adultery. There was a documentary at visiontv.ca called Meet the Samdis about a Canadian guy marrying a Muslim girl whose relatives were from Pakistan. They said the Pakistan culture is getting more liberal, but some men refuse to touch women and the tailor couldn't touch a woman to make measurements. Somebody else had to do it. The old guy said that customs are changing. Arranged marriages are on the way out. Girls are getting their own power, able to work their own jobs. Circumcision for men and women is encouraged. In Pakistan, men have sex with each other because of the general unavailability of girls who are all covered up by law and forbidden to date before their arranged marriages set up by their parents. These men don't consider themselves gay. The Quran is anti-gay. After the Iran Revolution in 1979, many gays were beheaded. A man can get a divorce if he gets angry with his wife 3 times, but in order for a woman to get one, she has to go through a formal civil and religious ceremony and prove that he committed a matrimonial offense like cruelty, abandonment, or the failure to support her. Islam considers it grounds for divorce if a wife doesn't give her man sexual intercourse at least once a week. Muslim societies have a lot of their divorces within the first year because of their laws. If the husband's family doesn't like the bride, they can return her and get 50% of the dowry back if they do it shortly after the marriage. Anal sex is punishable by death. In Canada, they wanted to introduce Muslim law called Shit law or something like that for Canadian Muslims to deal with civil matters, but Muslim women got in an uproar about it because they said that men have all the rights. Women have no rights in divorces. There's a documentary out there called Stolen Brides about girls raised in a Western country like United States or Britain, their father bringing them to some country like Yemen, then once there, selling them, forcibly marrying them off and leaving them there. If you've got a Muslim father and a secular mother, don't go on a vacation with him back to the home country alone. There's a book about it from around 1991 called Sold by Zina Mussin. There's a book out there called Sexuality and Eroticism Among Males in Muslim Societies by Arno Schmidt and Gehoida Sofer. Books about Islam Ariat number 297 at the library. Muslim love websites. muslimphilosophy.com/hazm/akalaq/akalaq6.html, the different kinds of love. Writer1.podomatic.com, the ideology of Islam is a dictatorship in which women are mere sex slaves. cyber_bangla0.tripod.com/a/islam_rethought.html, it's still there, online publication of Dr. Asif Ali's work on gender, sexuality, and marriage in Islam with particular focus on the tensions between traditionalist and modernist views within lived Islam. cyber_bangla0.tripod.com/a/chapter_6.html. Muta/muta/saya, temporary marriage. According to a documentary called Prostitution Behind the Veil, life in Iran is quite tough because it is run by Muslim law. A lot of girls leave their lives behind in rural areas to seek their fortunes in the big city of Tehran, but there's nothing much there, so most turn to prostitution and temporary marriage. Tied into prostitution is a Muslim-sanctioned process called Sai, which means that any man can meet up with any girl anywhere, and even if he's already married, he can make a deal with her to enter a Sai from anywhere from a week or 2 to 99 years. She comes to live with him for a set time period for a cash deal negotiated up front. After they make the deal, they go to a mullah, Muslim holy man, and he blesses it. After that, he basically owns her for that time period. Women have very few rights in Iran. This particular show showcased domestic violence, drug abuse, and prostitution. Many crusaders against muta call it a form of prostitution. ahaya.org. al-islam.org/laws/marriage2.html al-islam.org/publishers/mtrust/muta.htm al-shia.com/html/eng/book/temporary-of-marige en.wikipedia.org/wiki/temporary_marriage homa.org, women's activist organization islam-is-the-only-solution.com/muta.htm islamicweb.com/belief/cult/muta.htm islamicweb.com/belief/cult/temporary_marriage.html Muslim wedding. Marriage is a holy and sacred covenant under Islamic law. However, there are some inconsistencies. Many girls are forced into arranged marriages. They must sit home, can't go out in public without being covered up, and wait until their father fixes them up with a husband, usually a man, twice her age, sometimes a relative. Men can get a divorce quite easily and remarry. Women can't. Men are allowed up to 4 wives. Women aren't allowed to have 4 husbands. Interfaith marriages are generally alright, but some sects object to marriages with Jewish people. An Islamic wedding is often a 2-stage deal. A civil service with various rituals and celebrations taking place in the home, then a ceremony at the mosque. There are usually 2 simultaneous parties, one for the men and one for the women, where the 2 sides exchange hospitalities and gifts with each other. A Muslim marriage ceremony takes place either in the mosque, at the bride's home, or in an office. The groom, along with the sirbala, the youngest boy in his family, usually the son of a sibling, arrives at the ceremony. They are both welcomed and given floral garlands. An imam conducts the ceremony, reading from the Quran. The bride, who is wearing a veil, and the groom are seated apart during the ceremony, often on opposite sides of the room. The bride's father and 2 witnesses ask the bride if she has agreed to the marriage, then the imam asks the groom if he has agreed. If they both agree, the imam completes the ceremony. A meal is served after the ceremony, with both families and the bride and groom sitting separately at both sides of the room. After the meal, the bride leaves, puts on all the jewelry she has been given for the wedding, and returns to sit next to the groom, whereupon her veil is lifted. They may go elsewhere to have a reception. ArabicNews.com, Muslim marriage. ICMarriage.com. Islamicity.com/marriage. usc.edu/department/msa/human relations/women in Islam/marriage. zawaj.com/weddingways_main.html, wedding customs around the Muslim world. zawaj.com/articles/preparing_na-dire.html. easysoftech.com/omm/handbook.asp, Islamic Marriage Handbook. web.ukonline.co.uk/mmub, Muslim marriage. weddingdetails.com/lore/muslim.cfm. Chapter 2. An Arab-Moslem Dating Guide. Muslim dating/Arab dating/Middle East dating. Traditional Muslims don't date with a casual attitude. It's all about marriage potential. They go on a date, then within an hour decide whether they'll marry. Secular Muslims don't follow the old way. There are some cool Muslims around who drink beer, dance, smoke pot, and wear trendy clothes. I see teenagers outside the Muslim school smoking cigarettes. They're not going to follow old customs from somewhere. Muslim dating websites. 1. AfghanPersonals.com. American-singles-dating.com/muslim-dating.htm. Amoralist.com/muslim_dating.shtml. ArabDatingWomen.com. ArabiLove.com. ArabicDating.com. Arabium.com. ArabLounge.com. ArabMatchmaking.com. Arab-Montreal.com. Asian.ca. BlackMuslimLounge.com. Brooklyn.date.com/muslim-dating/New York.htm. BYF.com, Bangladesh. DatingAdvantage.com. derby.date.com/muslim-dating/kansas.htm, emuslimsingles.com, executivemuslimdating.com, finestmatch.com, globalrishta.com, greatcompanion.com, icmarriage.com, indiamatch.com, indianmatrimonials.com, iranian.ws/singles, iranianpersonals.com, islam.tc/ads, islamicfaces.com, islamicity.com/marriage, islamicpersonals.com, islamicsinglay.com, islamzite.org, jivanzati.com, lebanonlinks.com/love.asp, lika.com, marymuslimgirl.com, matchscience.com/single/muslim.aspx, matrimony.org, mcmarriage.org.uk, Muslim/Christian marriage, Muslim dating websites too, musalman.com/islam/matrimonials.html, muslems-dating-info.com, muslim.indianmatrimonials.com, muslim.particularpersonals.com, muslima.com, muslim-canada.org, muslimdarlings.com, muslimfaces.com, muslimfriends.com, muslimfriendship.com, muslimintro.com, muslimmarriageconsultants.com, muslimmarriagejunction.com, muslimmarriageonline.com, muslim-marriages.com, muslimmarriageservice.com, muslimmatch.com, muslimmatrimonial.com, muslimmatrimonialservice.com, muslimmatrimonialsnetwork.com, musliminly.com, muslimsfriends.com, muslimsinglay.com, muslimsocial.com, muslimtradingpost.com, muslimunions.com, muslimwedding.org, mutakun.com/mmc.html, nikahsearch.com, nikahservice.com, qiran.com, salamlove.com, shavi.com, shiamatch.com, singlemuslim.com, United Kingdom, singles.com.ua, United Arab Emirates, sunnimatrimonial.com, themuslimmatrimonial.co.uk, twomuslims.ca, Canada, twomuslims.co.uk, 6wa.com, yalla3arab.com, ymusa.org, zawaj.com, Egypt dating/Egypt singles. Egypt is the most secular Arab country. arabianfest.com/eg.html, arablounge.com, asiafunds.com/country/56_Egypt_dating_singles, askives.com/Egyptian-singles.html, buzzarab.com, date.com/Christian-dating/Egypt-Cairo.htm, dateinegypt.com, dating-egypt.datingpike.com, egypt.date.com, egypt.singlesarundme.com, egypt-cairo.com/Egypt_dating.html, egypt-dating.com, egyptiandancer.com, egyptian-dating.datingouo.com, egyptiandatingagency.com, egyptiansinglay.com, egyptianwomen.net, euro4arab.com/Egypt.html, fling.com/local/eg_Egypt.html, lavaplace.com/personal/Egypt/eg, lovehabibi.com/dating/Egyptian-dating, marokdate.com, metrodate.com/eg, mingle2.com/online-dating/ar-riyadh/Egypt, muslima.com, qiran.com, worldsinglay.com, udate.net/dating-egypt.php. Iran dating websites. IranianPersonals.com. IranianZinglayConnection.com. IranianZinglay.com. Persepolis.com. Persian-cafe.com. PersianZinglay.com. Lebanon dating/Lebanese dating websites. BentelHalal.com. EasyIAJ.com. LebanonHearts.com. Yalla3Arab.com. Turkey dating/Turkish dating. absoluteagency.com/single/tr_women.html. dating.vialita.net. flirtalamy.eu. internationaldating/singles.com/European-dating/Turkish-personals.htm. messengerpeoplemeet.com. muslimformuslim.com/Turkish-singles-dating.php. muslima.com. mybestdate.co.uk/community/nationality/186/Turkish.aspx. singlesbrowser.com/Turkish-singles. the-online-dating-reviews.com/Turkish-dating.html. turkey-dating.com. turkeydating.net. turkishdate.com. turkish-dating.com. turkishdatingwomen.com. turkishpersonals.com. turkishsinglay.co.uk. vialita.net/dating. Chapter 3. A Muslim Sex Guide. Muslim sex websites. Islam-for-dummies.com. twitter.com/IslamSubmitsYou. sister-hood.com/Layla-Hussein/Muslim-girls-great-sex-get. thereligionofpeace.com/QArun/025-Muhammad's-sex-life.htm. blessedquietness.com/alhaj/page20.htm. balams-as.com/alhaj/page20.htm. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Islamic_views_of_oral_sex. The facts about Islam.blogspot.com/2011/03/muslim-i-want-to-have-sex.html. The facts about Islam, Muslim response to, I want to have sex. central-mosque.com/fiqh/sextu.htm, sex education in Islam. studying-islam.org/querytext.aspx?ID =380. Sexual indulgence, studying Islam. al-islamforall.org/leader/ang-leader/sexynis.htm, sexual etiquettes in Islam. blessedquietness.com/alhaj/page20.htm, Muhammad, his raging sex, lust and libido. themodernreligion.com/sex.htm, Islamic religion and sexuality. youtube.com/watchquestion_yljd_pow&list=uu9s3k3m_h_d0/1crew lbg&index=16. A summary of Islamic sexuality and evil, and Barnhart. Muslim adultery. If a girl sleeps with a guy outside of marriage, her family is supposed to kill her and the lover to keep their honor. Many do, and if caught, they may only do a minimal jail sentence of 6 months or so. The girl has to sit home in a condition of purdah/semi-isolation, be covered up in public by wearing a chador, and only have sex after she marries the man her parents pick out for her, often a relative like a cousin who could be 30 years older than her. Princess Mishaal was stoned to death in Saudi Arabia in 1977 on the orders of her grandfather Prince Muhammad ibn Abdul. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/misha_al_of_Saudi_Arabia, a Saudi Arabian princess was publicly killed by her own family for adultery in 1977. religiostolerance.org/isl_adul.htm, punishment for adultery in Islam. Rape in Islam. By the Muslim Hudu ordinances, If a woman is raped by a man or several men at the same time, which is common in acts of revenge against families, if she reports it to the police, she must bring forth at least 4 male witnesses who will testify that they saw the rape in order to convince these people. There are 3 catch-22s to this. The first is that if 4 men witnessed a rape, if they were anywhere near moral, they would intervene and stop it. Most rapes are done in private in order for the rapists to avoid being seen and caught. If a woman reports a rape and she can't produce 4 male witnesses, she can be charged with adultery. Muslim websites. Books about Islam are at number 297 at the library. LearnReligions.com. 2Muslims.com, Muslims Internet Directory and Search Engine. AlHayat.com. Al-Islam.org. AlJazeera.com, News. Answering-Islam.org. Answeringislam.org, Critique of Islam. Arab.net. Arabic2000.com. Bridgestv.com, Muslim TV channel. CAHR.ca, Canadian Arabs. CCMW.com, Women. darulfikr.com.lb, Islamic books. fatwaonline.com. fatwa-online.com/about-islam. freekoran.com. irfi.org, Islamic International Incorporated. islam.org. islamforreal.blogspot.com. islamamerica.org. islamfortoday.com. islamicaweb.com. islamicfoundation.com, Islamic Education Foundation. islamicfinder.com. islamicity.com. islamicity.com/forum. islamicity.org. islamicvoice.com. islaminfo.com. islamonline.net. islam-qa.com. islamundressed.com. jihadwatch.org. latif.com. madinatululum.com, Muslim School. montrealmuslims.ca. msa-nathel.org/resources/relief_orgs.html, list of Muslim relief organizations. muhammadspeaks.com. musalman.com. muslimanswers.org. muslimbridges.org. muslim-canada.org. muslimleaders.org. muxlim.com. noi.org, Nation of Islam. pbs.org/empires/islam. realislam.ca. religionstolerance.org. searchtruth.com. sistani.org. taliban.com. topislamicsites.com. unn.ac.uk/society/Islamic. Muslim women websites. faithfreedom.org/articles/women-in-islam/recipe-to-hell. Chapter 4. Female genital mutilation/FGM and Muslim women. Female genital mutilation/FGM. Female circumcision aka female genital mutilation aka vaginal mutilation aka clitorectomy is a tradition carried on in mainly African countries as a part of tradition supposedly from the Muslim religion, where they cut a piece of a young girl's clitoris off as her passageway to womanhood. This traditional mutilation of a woman's external genitals is an attempt to ensure chastity by minimizing sexual pleasure. The practice is not mentioned in the Holy Quran and predates the emergence of Prophet Muhammad, dating back to a variety of ancient cultures in Africa, Arabia. There are 3 main kinds of female genital mutilation. Sunna circumcision, the mildest, removal of the tip of the clitoris. Clitoridectomy, removal of the entire clitoris, sometimes parts of the labia minora and labia majora, the lip-like tissue around it, then the remaining tissue is stitched together with an opening left for urination and sexual intercourse. Cutting the clitoris off prevents women from enjoying sex and reaching orgasm, since the clit is the pleasure center for women. Genital infibulation is the sewing together of the vaginal opening during childhood, practiced in the Muslim culture and among African tribes. Infibulation, also called Sudanese circumcision, which involves complete removal of the clitoris and also removal of the labia minora and majora, or their mutilation so that they scar and become desensitized to sensations. A girl's clitoris is cut off, then the inside of the labia majora are scraped raw. A hollow tube is put into her urethra, pee hole, so that she can still urinate while it heals. Then the labia are sewn together with just a small hole for urination and menstrual blood. This is done before puberty at about the age of 10. It is painful because it is done without anesthesia. It could get infected, often does, and results in death. The reason is to preserve a girl's chastity until marriage. It's kind of like a chastity belt. When the girl gets married, the husband literally rips these sewn labia apart in order to get at the vagina. In some societies, they resew the labias of adult women if they have some reason to suspect her chastity or want to preserve it while they go away on a trip. FGMs are performed at different times in different societies, from infancy to shortly before marriage, but commonly as a rite of puberty, around 10 to 12 years old. The person doing the FGM, either a holy man or a midwife, often uses a knife or a razor blade. He makes the cut, then stitches the vagina together, if necessary, leaving a small opening at the base, through which a straw is inserted, to allow for passage of urine and blood from menstruation. The girl's legs are sometimes tied together all the way down to the ankles until the labia have healed in order to close the genital area. At marriage, this scar will be cut open to allow for sexual intercourse and childbirth. There is a possibility of infection throughout the healing process and even later if impurities are trapped inside the closed vagina. Sexual pleasure is ruined for life both physically and psychologically. FGMs could result in infertility or various childbearing problems. The clitoris is probably the most sensitive area of the body besides the mouth, therefore the pain is monumental, not to mention that it's usually done without any anesthesia by the village shaman with a dirty old razor blade or a knife. They generally hold the teenage girl down and cut her while she's hollering and screaming. Some girls have died after their cuts became infected, but the real tragedy is that it's a totally useless procedure which deprives the girl of her sexual pleasure for the rest of her life because the clit is where all the pleasurable nerve endings are. Side effects are urinary tract infection and possible infertility. In cultures with short lifespans, the family arranges for the girl to get married at a young age, sometimes as young as 4 years old. Through experience, the medical community in these places have found that girls who have sexual intercourse with men at too young an age injure their vaginas so much that they are unable to have sexual intercourse anymore as adults. Other Muslim sexual practices. In some countries, if they're raped and complain, they go to jail. In some places, the rapist is given the choice to marry them or go to jail. In some countries, girls who flirt or commit adultery are routinely killed by relatives. They say they do it to preserve the honor of the family. Most marriages are arranged by the parents who pick old men for the girl who have money they give to the parents in return for the daughter's hand in marriage, sometimes called a dowry, the price they're expected to pay for the girl. If the girl takes off and returns to her home area at any time later, she's as good as dead. Sometimes they call it suicide, but it's really honor killing and quite widespread in the Muslim world. The murderers feel good and are honored in the community because they supposedly did the right thing. If a girl refuses an arranged marriage, she could be killed. There are 4 levels of femicide. The unspoken threat, social control in keeping a girl locked up at home or forcing her to marry young. Active threat of murder. Attempted murder that fail, leaving the girl injured and damaged. Murder. If a woman wants a divorce, some countries allow relatives to kill them. If a woman spurns a man's advances, in some countries, men throw acid on them. Many young girls are forced into prostitution in India. Infibulation is a process practiced in Africa where a woman's vagina is sewn up to help ensure chastity before marriage. Muslim women's rights websites. There is a help center at the Women's Center for Legal Aid and Counseling in Jerusalem. If you're an Arab girl on the run, go to this center, they'll help you. StopViolenceNow.org. EqualityNow.org, Equality for Women. forwarduk.org.uk, Safeguarding Rights and Dignity of African Girls and Women, in particular female genital mutilation, FGM, and forced and child marriage. HOMA.org, Women's Activist Organization. HRW.org, Human Rights Watch. HTCFL.org, Girls with Acid Burns. HumanRights.org. ICRW.org, International Center for Research on Women. IJM.org, Sexual Slavery. NoCIRC.org, Circumcision Information Resource Center. RAA.org, Afghanistan Freedom. Rainbow.org. SexuallyMutilatedChild.org. TahaRafilm.com, a film about female genital mutilation by Sarah Rashad. UN.org/WomenWatch, info on the status of women worldwide. WomenForWomen.org. Circumcision Resource Center. Circumcision.org. National Organization of Circumcision Information Resource Centers. NoCIRC.org. Human Rights Watch. HRW.org. Women for Women International. Washington, D.C. 20005. 202-737-7705. WomenForWomen.org. World Health Organization. Department of Women's Health. WHO.ch. Women's Muslim Organization websites. ccmw.com, Canadian Council of Muslim Women, information about the organization, its objectives and principles, also includes sections on family law, archives, and press releases. 2cwc.org, International Islamic Committee for Woman and Child, ICOOC, represents Islamic organizations of child, women, and family worldwide. Includes news and articles, information about activities and events and membership. Karamah.org, Karamah, U.S.-based charitable, educational organization of Muslim women lawyers who focus upon the domestic and global issues of human rights for Muslims and Muslim women. MWA.org.au, United Muslim Women's Association, Australian community-based welfare organisation established in 1983 to cater to the welfare, social, educational, religious and recreational needs of Muslim women of all backgrounds. MWLUSA.org, Muslim Women's League. SistersUnited.org, Sisters United in Human Service, organization of Muslim women working in the spirit of sisterhood to promote, support, uplift and serve human concerns for the pleasure of God. Information about structure and activities.